Happy Solar Eclipse Monday, everyone. It's a day a lot of people has been waiting for an extremely long time, but unfortunately, it's also going to come with severe storms and the beginning stages of a very active setup over the next 4 days. It all originates today. Right now, we have a positively tilted trough just hanging out in the desert southwest. But as this continues to shift eastbound, a mid-level cyclone is going to form out there in West Texas, along with a warm front that will be lifting further north. All this is going to have convective complexes, and eventually these two systems will actually merge together as we head into the overnight hours tonight. So I appreciate all my subscribers out there. If you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel, and I would love to reach 250,000 subscribers by the end of April. You can help me get there by subscribing to the channel and following all my daily breakdowns. But first, before the severe weather, we got a solar eclipse, folks. So here's where the setup is now. So we got that warm front right down there hanging out in South Texas. That's where all the humidity is coming back into play. They're going to have the least probability of seeing the highest, you're going to see the highest cloud deck across further south. So those areas where they have the most totality, about 4 minutes and 26 seconds. Unfortunately, you're going to see about an 88% cloud cover. But as you lift further north, you're going to have a little bit better viewing, possibly even in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, about 30% potential cloud cover. Timing is everything, as those clouds are now shifting further north. But especially as you go further northeast into Arkansas, you're likely going to get a little bit more clearing heading into them, as well as into southern portions of Illinois. But once you get further northeast, and especially there in Maine, you've always been the bullseye over the last couple of days, and you've got crystal clear skies this morning. Those look to continue, and so you're going to have a perfect viewing of that eclipse later on this afternoon. But after that, things get bumpy, folks. So I waited till I did this video and let's see if the Storm Prediction Center did in fact move this eastbound, but they didn't, but they probably will into the afternoon time frame. But nonetheless, we do have an enhanced risk for severe storms with that convective cyclone starting to take shape into West Texas. That's where they could see some of that very large hail, if not what's referred to as giant hail potential, up to 4 inches in diameter is not out of the question. That's what the atmosphere is calling for, folks. So we got a widespread risk of a slight risk for severe weather. Covers a good part of Texas, including all the major cities of Dallas, into Lubbock, back into Abilene, into Austin, San Antonio, all the way further eastbound as well. If you break down the risk, we have that tornado risk. So we got the warm front that's going to be lifting further north as we get into later on this afternoon into the overnight hours. And plus we have that convective complex that will be coming in off the west. That's where that triple point is. That's where the low pressure is. That's where we're going to have a renewed tornado threat. So it puts all these areas at risk for seeing a possible tornado. But wow, look at this, folks. I mean, the atmosphere is primed for significantly large hail over a huge area today. So all these areas in the dotted shaded area, including the Shreveport region, all of Dallas, much of Austin and San Antonio, back into the San Angelo region, Lubbock, Childress, Wichita Falls, all those areas have the potential of seeing large to very large hail. Doesn't mean everybody's going to get some, but those isolated spots, that's what the atmosphere is calling for later on this afternoon into the evening hours. And I think the biggest risk, the more widespread risk, is right where that triple point is. Later on tonight, later on to this evening, into the overnight, back here into northwest Texas there. But let's break this thing down for you. Here's where I think gets going about 5 o'clock. So we got that warm front surging from the south. You got elevated dew points well into the low 70s further south. upper 60s further north, but you're going to see these isolated bubblers, supercells. Some of these could contain some of that large hail, but they're also going to be rotating as well. So that's going to be more susceptible. We will likely have a tornado watch in place by then. So any one of these could be rotating and drop a tornado or two in its wake as this continues to surge further north. Look at the dew points, folks. This is the highest we've seen so far this spring season for a widespread event. We've got low 70s surging from out of the Gulf of Mexico down there in southeast Texas. That's where the warm front is, and that's going to be surging north. And that's where the culprit is going to be overturning, eroding that cap and lifting those cloud tops higher to create those supercell thunderstorms. So as we get into that 10 o'clock time frame, this is kind of what it looks like, folks. So the warm front will be surging further north by then. That puts all this convective complex over North Texas, back into Northeast Texas. And of course, then we have that secondary boundary we'll have to be on the lookout for of that large hail potential. This is where we could have the biggest hail, potentially some of that baseball size, some of that giant size hail into the evening time frame. And all that would actually shift eastbound, heading towards the DFW Metroplex in the overnight hours. So you're going to have this system from like 5 to midnight. That's going to roll out into Arkansas, into northern portions of Louisiana, as well as in the northern portions of Mississippi. And then you got the convective complex that will be moving out of northwest Texas and moving across. And those little isolated bubblers could contain some of that significantly large hail. It's definitely not out of the question, even in the overnight hours. But then, like, all the area just kind of merges tomorrow morning. So there's not much of a break, folks. So it's a very active setup over the next really 4 days, as I'm going to show you. This goes into tomorrow. So we have a renewed severe threat, even starting mid-morning up there into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, into central Texas. That, I think, goes into the afternoon time frame. And then eventually this will dive southeast. And as it does, it's going to tap into those elevated dew points, and that's going to again increase the severe threat even again. So for those areas into southeast Texas, north of the Houston Metroplex, down there into portions of Lufkin area, that's where they could be seeing the most significant weather as we head into the evening time frame on Tuesday, and also the highest potential of seeing the tornadic sped up tornadoes down there in Austin, into the Waco region. But once you do get into the north of the Houston Metroplex, back into Lufkin, those areas, portions, western portions of Louisiana, you have the possibility of seeing a potential strong tornado, folks. That could be a potential EF2 caliber or even possibly greater, as you'll have the highest wind shear. And here's the helicity values, folks. This is kind of again, it's just a very complex situation with kind of a 1-2 punch. And as these kind of merge together, this is where the helicity values fall right now. In some of the latest high resolution guidance, you see a lot of updrafts and potentially large hail producers. And once we get that hail swath, that could be an extended period of time, dropping some significant hail in its wake over a good, heavily populated area. And some of these could be some isolated tornadoes mixed in as well, especially as you get further southeast and then heading into portions of Louisiana and back into Arkansas. And this all shifts eastbound, folks, and it's a very slow moving system. So even into Wednesday, right now, they have yet another enhanced risk, and I wouldn't be surprised even this gets upgraded to moderate. This is going to be a big system covering a lot of area, as it's going to be a very slow mover. And then once we head into Wednesday, this is where the bullseye would likely come into play. It would originate in East Texas and eventually amplify down there into Louisiana, back into the Jackson region, back into the Mobile region, into the New Orleans region, and that will continue to shift further into Birmingham, back into Montgomery as we head into the Florida Panhandle. But looking at some of the lightning strikes and the condensed lightning strikes, as we have a possible mesoscale convective system move through and propagate out of southeast Texas and move into Louisiana. Yes, that's where they have numerous widespread thunderstorms that could erupt, with all three modes of severe storms would be on the table. We also have a heavy rain threat as well. So as this system moves through, it's a very slow moving system. So there's the setup on Tuesday. We've got the avocado, folks, and right outside the avocado in this green shaded area, that's about 1 inch of rainfall. But once you head into the yellow shaded area, that's more likely 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. But once you head in the red, that's more of a moderate risk. That's easily 2 to 4 inches. Could be some isolated 3, maybe even 6 inch spots. And it doesn't end there, folks, because the slow moving system will continue to move off to the east, now highlighted over Mississippi, over a good part of Georgia, with very heavy rain heading into that Wednesday timeframe, on top of that severe threat as well. So that's going to be a bumpy ride as well. And it does not end there. Now it takes on more of a bimodal mode. So it has another deepening low pressure now highlighted over southern portions of Illinois. That puts Indiana, that puts Ohio back into play. And then we have the southern mode that continues into the Florida Panhandle, back into Georgia, through the South Carolina region, through North Carolina, and that puts them into play. So if we take a breakdown for you, and looking at right now, the Storm Prediction Center has that bimodal mode and kind of highlights these two areas of low pressure splitting off and separating. So you have the southern flank that we'll be working with, that's originated out of the desert Southwest right now. By the time we head into Thursday, we'll be highlighted over the Florida Panhandle, southeastern portions of Georgia, back into South Carolina, heading northbound into North Carolina. Then we have that bimodal mode with that other area of low pressure that will also strengthen and deepen. So this will also likely be expanded as we get closer till Thursday, because we have another significant low pressure center starting to form down to a 994 millibar low pressure heading into Thursday morning. That should put widespread showers and thunderstorms and the severe risk even further north now into Illinois portions, into Indiana, back into Ohio. And then we have that southern flank that will come out into the Florida Panhandle, and where those two areas of low pressure center will start to deepen. So you got 1,005 millibar further south, and then you have a 987 continuing to strengthen further north. So that puts all these areas into play for severe storms and active setup. And as this continues to even move into Friday afternoon, folks, the low pressure comes up the eastern seaboard. This would likely be another heavy rain event. Unfortunately, they just get crushed again. With more heavy rain, I think there's even a slight risk for excessive rainfall into play right now. And then there's the low pressure center that will be heading into the upper Great Lakes, back into Canada, continuing to deepen and strengthen. Now it's down to a 983. So yes, it's going to be windy, folks. So on top of the severe risk you're going to have outside of those severe storms, it's going to be windy. April is always already the windiest month. And then we've got a multi-day severe threat. And on top of the powerful low pressures, I mean, this all started in Colorado just the other day with those significant wind gusts into the overnight hours. People that live there can tell you it was bumping at 70, 80, possibly 90 miles an hour at times coming out of that region. That was just the beginning stages of a windy week, and that's going to be heading into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it really doesn't even start to wind down until late Friday. Have a little break, but look what happens by the end of the month, by the middle of the month, folks. Yes, that is another deepening low pressure highlighted across the plains, 985. That would possibly put Iowa Illinois, Missouri back into play for even more severe storms as we head into the middle of the month. As you can see, it's a very active setup. I will be going live around 5 o'clock for those storms in Texas through the evening time frame, and likely going live again on Tuesday. So it's going to be a very active setup. So I appreciate all my subscribers out there. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you put the notification bell on so you get notified when I do my updates, as well as when I go live later on this afternoon, where I protect you before and after the storm.